Hello everyone and welcome back to the HCW YouTube channel. My name is Rate Wrestle and we're once here again for an Indy Spotlight interview. And we are joined by Aaron Williams. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. We finally managed to get this sorted.
Yeah, been
Um,
jumping through hoops. It seems like the past couple of weeks to get it going, but
yeah,
yeah,
that's the trouble with obviously you're from America, I'm from England. The time differences and stuff, that's always going to be the case.
yeah,
But yeah, for anyone that's not seen these kind of interviews, it's basically just the This Is Your Life rip-off, which is explained to yourself. So we'll be discussing how you got into the wrestling all the way up to where you're coming to the UK soon, and then just bits in the middle. Obviously, you've been wrestling a while, so for anyone that's watching this, we're not going to be going through your whole career, because we might be here for a while. So we'll just be picking out the best parts that I think are the best parts. They probably might not be the best parts, but they're the ones that I've noticed.
that's fair.
So we'll kick off with the usual question. What's kind of your first wrestling memory? Like, what got you into wrestling?
The first memory I have from wrestling is I actually remember eating cereal in my living room floor, watching a Randy Savage promo on Superstars. I guess I was barely even maybe like 5.
Yeah.
And that's like probably the first like real memory I have of wrestling. I don't think I really like kind of discovered it. My dad used to like let me rent wrestling tapes and stuff like that, like from that point on. And I don't think I really started to like fall in love with it, I guess, until I was like maybe around like 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I guess that would have been around the same time. I think it was probably around 96 or so is when I really started to like fall in love with it. So.
Okay. And then what made you suddenly decide, you know what, I want to get into this?
Well, growing up, I was very into martial arts. I took throughout my life, I've taken like 4 different martial arts, and it's always been like a passionate thing for me. And I've always been very into movies and stuff like that. And wrestling kind of became this thing that was a little bit of both. You know, it was a little bit of a like acrobatic fighting, also with interesting characters and plot twists, stories, and so on and so forth. And I just kind of gravitated to it. And the more I gravitated to it, the more I fell in love with it. And the more I fell in love with it, the more I had to do it. I didn't think it was ever going to be a possibility for me. I did backyard wrestling and stuff, which was a big thing during my adolescence.
Yeah.
And then eventually one of my backyard friends told me about there were shows. Like, I didn't even know independent wrestling was a thing at this time. He's like, yeah, there's shows that are just around. And I said, like, can we go to one? He was like, well, yeah, we can go to one. There's one on Tuesday. And we went, and it was a Heartland Wrestling Association show, which that's where guys like Nigel McGuinness, Chad Collier, and John Moxley, Cody Hawk, Matt Stryker, and a host of other dudes all came from there. LA Knight or Eli Drake, whatever you want to call him, Sammy Callahan, so on. Just a ton of guys came from there. And went there and kind of started to discover what independent wrestling was. At the time, it was ran by Les Thatcher, and we had a core little group of guys that did our backyard, and we had one guy who was probably like the biggest and also the best out of all of us.
Yeah.
And he didn't tell us until after he did, but he went to go to Les to get trained, and Les took one look at him and said, "You're not big enough. I'm not training you." and he came back to all of us, told all of us that, and it just broke our hearts. And then I kind of was just like, well, man, this sucks. I want to do this so bad, but I only knew of really HWA to do it at.
Yeah.
And since they shot down the guy who I considered like the biggest and the best of us, it's like, well, I don't have a chance then. But then I ran into an old friend of mine from high school at the time. I was already graduated at this point in time. They had been graduated a few years, and they asked me, like, you still into wrestling? I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, I train somewhere. Do you want to come and train? And I said, where? And he told me of this place. And I was like, well, yeah. So I went and I ended up in this little gym in a little section of Cincinnati called Price Hill. And that's where it started for me. Little place called Insane Wrestling Incorporated. Wow, that's how bad the memory is. Yeah.
And then how long did it take you from like training to get into your first match?
I actually kind of forgot, but like I found all the receipts that I kept from training.
Yeah.
Just about a month ago or so, and I kind of looked through it, and I think I trained for about roughly about 10 months before they started letting me have matches and stuff. Looking back, excuse me, I still wasn't ready to be a wrestler in 10 months into training. I had no idea what I was doing. I probably didn't kind of figure it out till years later. It's just a funny thing how they just kind of give you a little bit, throw you to the wolves, and then all right, figure
Hope
it
for
out.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was this around?
I started training in 2002, so I think I debuted in 2003.
Okay, because the first match I could find of you wasn't until 2005. Which was with HWA, the Heartland Wrestling Association.
Yep. That's probably because the place where I started didn't really have much. They didn't really have much, you know. They were just a small little independent fed, like just pops up, you know, and is around for a couple of years, then it'll die, and so on and so forth. And I was there for about a year, and then I ended up in another one that was basically the same deal. And then eventually, Cody Hawk took over Heartland from Les Thatcher.
Yeah.
And I think it was his girlfriend happened to come to one of the shows that I was on. And she told him, well, there's like a couple of guys at the show that you could probably do something with. And then word got to me and a couple of my buddies, and he was like, we contacted him. He said, well, if you'll come in for a tryout on a training day, we'll see what we can do. So we did, and I remember being incredibly nervous. He got us in the ring, and he was like, all right, well, let's see what you got. And he just wrestled us for like 30 minutes nonstop, just running us through the ringer, basically. And at the end of it, he was like, all right, well, you need a lot of work, but I guess I'll help you. And then I started wrestling for HWA, and that's really where I started to kind of figure out a little bit what I was doing.
Okay. And then, like, so as I said, the first match I could find, and I feel like I'm gonna butcher the guy's name, which I do apologise. So it was yourself versus Alan Waslichin, is it?
Alan Waslichin.
That's the worst pronunciation. Yeah. So that was that was the first match I could find, which ended in a no contest. And further on, you ended up being partners at that point, the Mavericks.
Yep.
So how did that come about?
Well, I mean, I think we were both just kind of young, and maybe Cody really didn't know what to do with both of us, so he kind of just paired us together. And for a while, we were just Alan and Aaron. And then actually, John Moxley gave us the name the Mavericks, which we hated. But he just he was just walking around for about a month, just saying, "You guys should be the Mavericks." And we were like, "Why should we be the Mavericks?" He's like, "'Cause you just should." Like, well, okay, well, let's look at what Mavericks are. They're either cowboys or they're fighter pilots. We're not either one of those. So why would we be the Mavericks? And he's like, you just should. And we were like, oh, whatever. And then one day we went out to do our match, and he told the announcer that we were the Mavericks now. And we didn't even have any idea. And he announced this as the Mavericks, and we were like, well, dang it, now we're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here we go.
Yeah, and it was a long form in tag team for when you were together 3 years or so.
Yeah, we were together for a while, and then he left the business, and kind of I think we won the HWA tag straps at one point in time, and had like a long feud with Forward Intelligence, where I think we really started to learn a whole lot of stuff, and we also had a pretty lengthy feud with the Irish Airborne. And then he left the business, and I was on my own from that point on, pretty much. And I picked up other tag partners as we've gone on, but yeah.
And then, like, we might as well bring it up at this point. Ohio, I can't even say it now. Ohio. Why can't I say it suddenly? Ohio.
Ohio. There you go.
So, it's like a hotbed of wrestling. Like, it seems that every person that is any good is from Ohio.
Yeah, we kind of, I think I got a little bit of pride in that, actually. Like, I think we have produced some really, really talented people out of our state. And I don't know if it's just the training we get or the mentality that we get, but most of us are all very hard workers. Most of us are all very dedicated to what we're doing. So, for me, at the time I came up, I got to come up with, I already mentioned guys like Nigel and Collier and Stryker and just guys like that, guys who in my mind are like just incredible. So I'm like, all right, well then I almost have shoes to fill, so I feel like I gotta be good. Like, I can't not be good. Gotta be good. Like, got a whole state's pride line going with me. And I think a lot of the guys from my era, at least, kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, and I think it is a big proud thing. It's like, obviously, people now, like, there's a lot of factions based upon just being from the area, like 4-0. And it just seems like everyone that I know is good comes from that state.
Yeah, we do all right for ourselves. Pretty proud of most of us.
No,
some of us suck, but most of us are pretty good.
So with HWA, you did have you've had a great run there. So you've held pretty much everything that's been there. So I think the first title you ended up with was the Cruiser Championship.
Yep, that was the first like singles gold I had there. Alan and I won the tag titles, but the cruiserweight title was the first one I held there. I think I won that in like a multi-man match, but I think the person I ended up beating was Johnny Gargano, if I'm not mistaken. And it had like a good amount of people in it, and so that was probably the first one. And then that kind of blended into what they called the American Lucha Core title. And I had that for a while. And then I eventually won the top prize, the HWA title, and lost it like 2 or 3 weeks later to John Moxley, I think.
Yeah, if you're going to lose it to someone, John Moxley's not a bad person to lose it to.
Yeah, right? That's kind of how I always looked at it.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because obviously you had the Cruiserweight champion, and then I was going to bring what was the difference between the Cruiser title and the Luchador title, but you pretty much explained that now.
Well, I mean, it was American Lucha Core was actually like a promotion that before Pro Wrestling Revolver, which is what he runs now.
Yeah,
Sami Callihan ran a company called American Lucha Core. And that company kind of dissolved, and HWA kind of decided, well, let's take this title and kind of create a division around it. So that was what they did. They basically made up specific rules for American Lucha Core title matches, which were, I think, 20 count on the outside and anything goes, but traditional rules on the inside.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a fun little concept that they decided to implement, and it made for a fun title reign. Honestly, the matches were a lot of fun to do because it just opened up some stuff. Like, oh, we can play with some things. That's cool. So.
Okay. And then you started to branch out a bit more. That I could see you started wrestling places. Is this the one you just mentioned, Insanity Pro Wrestling?
Or that's a different one actually.
Okay, I was going to say.
Started with was one in Cincinnati. Insanity Pro Wrestling was in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah.
And started wrestling there. Alan and I actually started wrestling there before he took his leave, and so we wrestled there as the Mavericks for a little bit. But then once he left, I had to create a singles career and started wrestling in that. And I actually won their junior tournament, I think in 2008.
2008,
maybe.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay. Yep. Wrestled in that and beat Sammy Callahan, I believe, in the finals.
You beat a pretty decent field. You beat Nate Webb first round.
Good old
Then
Nate Webb.
Nate Webb, Ruckus, and Shima Zion, which I think is DJZ, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So like impressive people to go through to beat through to the final, especially beating Callahan in the final.
Yeah. It was that was a fun time. It was a really interesting time for me because at that point in time, I really didn't have much of a gimmick. I was just kind of a guy who knew how to wrestle.
Yeah.
And to get like a lot of the opportunities that I was getting at that specific company was pretty cool. I think I wrestled Delirious there, and I wrestled Chuck Taylor a couple times there, and I wrestled Ricochet there, and Moxley like 2 or 3 times. So yeah, it's a good little place.
Yeah, it seems like you had a higher as well. It seems like the other company I picked out was MPW. It just seems like the word mad and insanity had to be involved in the title. Yeah.
I don't know what that's all about. Maybe it's a Midwest thing. Like we're all mad here, I guess. But yeah, Mad Pro Wrestling. That was a fun little cup of coffee too. Have some good memories about that one. I think Alan and I wrestled the Irish Airborne in a TLC match one day. That was so brutal. I literally couldn't walk. Somebody had to drive me home like 3 hours so I could just so I could lay in bed for the next day. Bad times.
It says it in the name of the company, though, isn't it? But it seems like, was this with these companies, obviously HWA and PW, IPW, was it just the same kind of talent were on each show?
I mean, in some respects, yeah, like a lot of the same guys like kind of cycled around. It was kind of a relatively tight little group of people at that point in time, because some of the guys obviously were like Indiana based, and some of them were like more Southern based and everything like that. But it seemed like they'd get hitched to people. Like for a long time, John Moxley and Drake Younger were kind of married to each other, so they were like always just wherever together. We were like that. Alan and I were like that with the Irish Airborne. Then eventually, by myself, I became like that with like Dustin Ray's or and stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of a lot of the same guys, but then every place had their own people too. So
yeah. And then, like as I said, because you've had a long career, I started picking out matches where I was just interested in hearing the backstory of. So you started wrestling for a company called Rockstar Pro, and you became their champion, beating Benjamin Chimera, I believe his name is pronounced. You ended up having, I don't know if was this your first steel cage match against Matt Taylor, or had you wrestled before?
No, I'd had a couple before. I do relatively remember that one pretty well. The Rockstar Pro Wrestling run was kind of a long one, but that was like in its infancy. That one was like early on. Like I was the top heel there, and it was really the first time anybody was ever like, okay, you're going to be a heel now. And it kind of just caught fire pretty well. And I've known Matt at that point in time. I'd known Matt a long time, and we're still good friends. So that was a really good one. I wish I had it. I don't know if I do. Maybe I do. I need to find it if I do. But yeah, that was a fun match. I think the big spot we did a Kryptonite Crunch off the cage.
Yeah, it's
let that settle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, because you mentioned, like, because in the UK, steel cage matches are, it's very few and far between. Are they kind of like it's something you'll see, not a lot, but like, you see more of them in the US?
Yeah. Like I've had a few actually. Like And they always, the worst part about them is there's always like one really big bump in it, and it's usually terrifying. And yeah, a lot of the time it ends up being me. So yeah, but you know, what do you do? I think I've taken a kryptonite crunch off of a cage. I've taken a muscle buster off the top of the cage.
That's not right.
Yeah, that one was. I mean, I have a lot of regret about some of those moments, to be honest with you. I think I've done a moonsault off the top of the cage. I know I've done like a splash off the top of a cage. Like I've done a lot of dumb stuff, man. Gosh, God.
And then, like I said, with the Rockstar Pro Total, you did face like a who's who of people that a lot of people would know now. So you got people like Alex Cologne, Jake Christ, and one of the ones I was really excited to speak about, Madman Pondo.
Yeah, that was a fun one because I've known Pondo for a long time, and I've always just kind of thought like, I don't know how that would work. You know, you have like guys you like look at and you're like, oh, I'd have a good match with him, or I'd have a great match with him. I don't know how that one would go. Pondo was definitely, well, we're gonna figure it out. It actually was a lot of fun. It was a enjoyable thing to do. I don't like that bat, but it is what it is, you know.
And then it seems like Rockstar, you kind of wrestled a few like novelty matches. Like normal people have said, like, we do a lot of interviews in the UK, and if I write steel cage match, I'll just find one in their whole career. Whereas I wrote dog collar matching for yourself, and you've wrestled 4 or 5 of them, which you know.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, actually, one of them is where I got this little chip right there. I think it was probably the first one you see there, which is with Dustin Reyes, I believe. And we were just in the middle of the match, and something happened, and the chain just kind of, and then it just clipped me right there, and I was like, I just lose part of my tooth. Yep, I did. I wasn't nearly as worried about being lit on fire, literally, later in the match, as I was about chipping my tooth. I was so bad about that. Still pretty heated about it. But as you can see, I haven't got it fixed yet, so must not be that long.
9 years.
Yeah. Pretty here now.
Yeah, but to be honest, like I was looking through it, and I've just noticed, though, which I didn't know, how would you do a 3-way dog collar match? I know we're skipping 4 years in advance here, which we're going to come back. Yeah. But like, I've just noticed a 3-way dog collar match.
Yeah, that was interesting actually, because I did kind of like, and I don't even really know how it happened, but I did kind of just adopt the dog collar match. It just kind of became my match there. So I think I did one with Dustin. I did one with Jeremiah, and I think I did one with somebody else. And then we did the triple threat, which the way we did it was myself, Dustin Reyes, and Larry D. And what they did is they took 3 chains and a circle chain, and then just connected all 3 chains to the circle, and then all 3 of us. It was really cool, actually. I really liked it because it was very different and very like, how are we going to make this happen and how are we going to make it cool? And I feel like we did make it cool. Like there were a couple, like, I mean, the beauty of a triple threat match is, what are these guys going to do? Now you add like, okay, all 3 dudes are connected. What are they going to do now? And then pretty much anything you do is like really cool. So I really enjoyed that match. It's actually when I finally found the persona that I currently do as well. So that match actually has a lot of fond memories for me.
No, it does sound like a good match, because most triple threats, you have the essence where you have the 2 guys fighting in the ring, the other guy's been knocked out. Whereas if you're all tied together, it's kind of a bit hard to do that.
Yeah, and it was hard to do, but like I said, it was a lot of fun to do. It was a cool experience. I would love to do one again, but you know, everything would have to align to make it work. Like the way that one worked is because the story that we were telling at the time kind of made it fit. And then I think it was originally just a dog collar between myself and Larry D, and then we did something that incorporated Dustin, and then was like, okay, well now what are we gonna do? Like, oh, we're gonna do a triple threat dog collar. Yep. Okay. Well, let's run it. See what happens. So.
Yeah, it just I didn't even notice it until I just looked, and that's why I didn't even have it in the questions until I noticed it. But moving on, so you got to wrestle in the best of the best CZW.
Yes.
You got to face. You went out in the first round, but you got to face Tommy End, which he used to come to the UK a lot before. Obviously, he ended up in AEW, WWE. How was it wrestling Tommy End? Because he used to be fantastic on the Indies.
I loved working with Tommy End. I wish we would have got to do a singles match, but the little bit we did get to work together, I really, really enjoyed because, like I said earlier, like I have a pretty extensive martial arts background. He does too. So I was really excited about like, oh, we could do a lot of fun stuff. And we did get to do a couple little fun things, but I really like Tommy. He's incredible. Not only in ring, but also just him as a person is a pretty great dude.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Funny thing about that is I was wrestling on a torn ACL during that match. I tore my ACL about 8 months earlier, and I didn't know it was torn. And I was just wrestling on it, taping it up, and hobbling through every match for like 8 months. And then CZW was like, hey, do you want to be a best of the best? And I was like, yeah. And then I hung up the phone and was like, maybe I should get this knee checked out. And then I went to the doctor and he was like, yeah, you tore your ACL. I don't know how you're doing anything. Like, oh, you need surgery like right now. I was like, well,
best of
you're
the
going
best.
To have to wait. I got to do best of the best first. Then I'll have the surgery.
And how was it like getting called up for the best of the best? Because that's one of the big, it's one, except for obviously CZW, people think a tournament death straight away, but like best of the best is one of their big ones still.
I might not have been on the phone when I was doing it. I actually think the way that it happened was I didn't like. You would think that would be like a cool thing, right? Like somebody calls you up and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be in best of the best?" You're like, "Oh wow, thanks. Thank you for thinking of me to put me in this tournament with the best wrestlers in the world and all that stuff." I think it literally happened as I was walking by DJ Hyde in a locker room. And he just looked at me and he said, "Hey, are you coming to the East Coast on this date?" "Yeah, am I?" "I'm going to book you." "Then, yeah, I am." He's like, "Okay, you're in best of the best." Awesome. Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah,
so I was excited and it is a cool thing, but I was like, all right.
And then a company that I've always loved, it's kind of more like the first US wrestling company, like indie side of it, like obviously CZW with Tournament of Death, was IWA Mid-South. And I see the first match you had, it might not be your first match, was against Shane Mercer.
That was my
who
first
I'm a
match
massive fan of, I'll be honest.
Yeah, that was the first match I had out there. It kind of just happened. I knew some guys that were on the show, and I wanted to. I'd never been out there. I'd never worked for them, and I guess at this point in time, gosh, I was probably like 13 or 14 years into my career, something like that. And I'd never wrestled there, and I was just like, maybe I should just go wrestle there. Like.
Yeah.
I have a ton of respect for a lot of the people who went through there and everything like that. So I was just like, yeah, I think I'm going to go work there. And then one thing led to the next. It was like, hey, can you be here on Thursday? Sure. And then wrestled Shane Mercer. And then that starts a long story with IWA Mid-South.
Yeah, like you have, once again, it's like a who's who kind of people. Shane Mercer, I'm just a massive fan of because I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is.
Shane's good. He's a good dude. He's a good guy. He's trying to start his own little thing out in the Indiana area and trying to get some guys some work and some experience. And he's trying to bring in some more reputable people to kind of help those guys along. And man, I got a lot of respect for that. That's very cool of him.
Yeah, because he was probably one of the first people I note, like in the scene where he does stupid moves, but like as in stupid as in they shouldn't work. Like flip,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, like because like whenever I work wrestling now, I mean, then I was probably like I don't know, probably 30 pounds lighter or whatever. But now when we wrestle, he still does that stuff, and I kind of look at him like, Shane, you know, I'm not like small, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I know. And then sure enough, he just picks me up and throws me around like I'm not even there, and I'm like, okay, well that sucked, but awesome.
He seems like the kind of guy that doesn't need your help. You're going if you're going.
No,
That's yeah.
nope. Yep. You're just gonna hope. You're gonna hope that you land okay.
And then from there, you went into the IWA Mid-South Heavyweight Tournament, which you ended up getting into the final, which is obviously a big thing, moving from just going to the company, end up being in a final for the Mid-South Heavyweight Championship. And you ended up losing to John Wayne Murdoch, who's killing it now at the moment as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that as well because I don't think I was there very long at that point in time, and so I was just trying to get my feet wet and be like, okay, well, you know, Ian obviously knows talent, like whether you like him or hate him or whatever, his man knows talent, and he put me in this tournament, and then you know by the end of it, I was like, oh, I'm in the finals with Murdoch. That's cool. I'd never worked with Murdoch at that point in time, and I was just like, wow, they apparently he kind of sees something in me, so that's cool. It was kind of like a little bit of a validation, maybe in a weird way, you know, like for wrestling for as long as I have, for being in the ring with the people that I haven't really gotten the same type of what's the word, adoration maybe that some of the other people that I have kind of come up with have. So when Ian kind of saw me and was like, hey, yeah, this guy's got something, it's kind of like, yeah, I got something. Like so yeah, that was probably like the first big-esque match that I felt like I had there was with Murdoch. Since then we've had probably dozens, but yeah, so that was a good one.
Yeah, and then like a year later, you won that tournament, and you did beat John Wayne Murdoch in the first round, which like a guy's revenge match. And he ended up beating Larry D to win the title in the final. So that must be a big moment.
Yeah, that was a cool moment because like the lineage of that title is massive. I mean, if you go back and you look at what it was at one point in time, you kind of have to be like, man, well, now my name's up there with you know, like Eddie Guerrero and Jerry Lynn and Chris Hero and Punk and just, you know, laundry list of dudes that are just fantastic and have made a massive impact in the business. So yeah, it was a very cool moment.
Yeah, and then you ended up winning not once but twice the Ted Petty Invitational, which I don't know if it is often that people win it twice in a row.
No, apparently, I guess one other person kind of did. It was named something else before it was the Ted Petty.
Nah, doesn't
and
count.
Chris Hero won it. And the next year, they changed the name to Ted Petty, and then he won it again.
Yeah.
So technically,
nah, we don't go
he's
by
the only other person to do it. and then there's me. So it's Chris Hero, freaking Chris Hero.
Yeah. But it's a long tournament as well, isn't it? It's not like your typical like 3 minute, like 4 or 5, and it's the amount of the people in this tournament. Like the first one I'm seeing here is incredible. But you went against Eric Cannon. You beat Eric Cannon. Then you went against Starr. Then you beat Eddie Kingston of all people in the semi-finals. And then you beat which is a threesome of yourself, Jake Christ, and Jonathan Gresham. So it's not very like. It's like if you're gonna win a tournament, that's how you win a tournament.
yeah, like that was man. Those were really, really good tournaments. Both of them that I got to be in were really, really good. It's kind of sad in a lot of ways because by the time that I was doing my run, IWA had unfortunately lost a lot of its love. You know, people had jumped off the bandwagon. But man, if you get a chance to, if you haven't watched either one of those tournaments, they are definitely worth your time. A massive amount of talent in there, especially the second one I won, which I think was that 2019, I think.
2018.
18?
But yeah,
17
like
and
the
18?
people in it. So you've got obviously yourself, Kelvin Tankman, Chase Owens, Gary J, who we'll speak about a bit later. Michael Elgin was in there, Shane Mercer, just a silly amount of talent in and around that, yeah.
Yeah, I think Strickland was in that one. Kingston was in that one too.
Yeah, I didn't even notice Shane Strickland. That's right, Shane Strickland you're not noticing,
Yeah. So I got to have a couple matches with him at Rockstar too. Those were great.
Yeah. And then we're moving on to you wrestled a little bit for Impact as well. You got a chance to wrestle Impact.
Yeah, I did a couple matches with them. I think probably the first one you're going to see is a 6-man tag, right?
Yeah, OVE rules.
Yeah, they were OVE rules. It was them versus the Night Riders, which were at the time myself, Dustin Reyes, and Alex Colon.
Yeah.
That was a wild match. That was when Impact was doing a lot more like partnerships with indie companies and everything like that. And we got the opportunity to main event, and we did, and it seemed to get like a good amount of love on the internet and everything like that. But it's kind of interesting because Impact didn't really want to showcase people that weren't Impact guys.
Yeah.
So they didn't really showcase us much. They just showcased the OVE guys. But that's business. But it was good. I think I almost broke my jaw on a fence because I did a moonsault off of a speaker that was right in front of the fence.
Yeah.
And the ceiling was kind of low, so I cut it really tight. And my face came right down right where the fence was, and it caught me a little bit, but it didn't kill me. So that's what matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Yeah. And then the second match, which are a mosh pit scramble.
Yeah.
What's a mosh pit scramble? I know what a mosh pit is, but I don't know if it's the same.
It's basically it's just a fancy name for a scramble match, really. I think it was it 6 guys, 6 or 7?
Yeah, 6 guys. Yeah.
It was just all right. All y'all just get in there and do stuff. Do stuff, and somebody win. that's pretty much what it was.
The typical wrestling way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that one was a fun match, actually. It was they had a cool venue for it and everything like that. I think that night Larry D wrestled John Hannigan, or Johnny Impact, I guess would have been what he was calling himself at that point in time. But that was a good one. That was a fun match.
Okay, and then a company I did want to speak about a little bit as well was Pro Wrestling Revolver as well. Obviously, they're getting the main headlines, but you started wrestling for them in 2017 as well. The first match was another scramble match. That seems synonymous with yourself as well.
Got a lot of those. Was that a tag team scramble match or a regular scramble?
It's regular. Matt Palmer won it.
Okay. Okay. I think I recall that one.
Yeah, it's open invitational for the scramble title, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. I think I did like a double springboard senton to a massive amount of people on the outside of the ring, and that's why that one sticks out to me. The scramble matches are so hard to pinpoint because it's literally just all right,
word scramble.
When can you get in to do whatever you got to do, and then you're in. And you're there for a second, and then you're gone. And they're kind of hard to pinpoint, but they're fun. They're always fun. They're great to watch. There's so much action and stuff going on in them that they're a blast to watch. But to remember, they're kind of a mess. Was I in that match? What did I do in that match?
Yeah, and then how was it? Obviously that's the company that Sami Callihan runs. How was it working under Sami?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How is it working with Sami? Yeah.
I've known Sami for a really, really long time. We've wrestled quite a few times. He actually defended I wrestled him when he was the Impact champion at one point in time as well. So, I mean, I've known Sammy a really, really long time. He's a dedicated, passionate dude, and he's always pretty easy to work with. He knows what he wants, and I got a ton of respect for somebody who knows what they want. You know, like it's kind of how I look at things. I'm like, okay, this is how I want a thing to be, so let's make sure that it is close to that as we possibly can be. And Sammy's he's a good businessman. He has, before he even got signed with the WWE, like I said, he had a company called Pro Wrestling or American Lucha Corps. That went for a little while. Then he eventually packed that up and he moved to Jersey, I believe, and created a buzz for himself. And he eventually got signed, and then he did that for a while. And then when he realized, or when he came to the realization or decided that maybe wasn't for him, he went and he created another pathway for himself. And now he's done it again with Revolver. Like maybe he's, kind of moving out of one thing and going right into another thing. He's a brilliant businessman, and I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, because I did a seminar with Sammy Callan. He's probably one of the most down-to-earth guys as well, which you wouldn't expect from the way he's obviously perceived. But just genuinely nice guy. We'll move on. So the birth of Planet Williams. How did that come about?
Actually, it just it was a thing somebody said in jest once. I think we were in a pre-show meeting, and somebody was just talking about the show and everybody on it and everything like that. And they pointed at me and they said, Aaron, everybody else needs to kind of get on Aaron's level because he's on a planet by himself. And I kind of took that and I was like, I think I could make something out of that. So that's basically where Planet Williams came from. And it kind of grew its own atmosphere from there. I just kind of took it in the very literal sense. Okay, well, I live on my own planet. I'm here, but here is where I am. So, it was a fun little thing to do. And I think I want to create some more merch about it because I've done so many gimmicky things over my long career that I kind of feel like I could just blow smoke off one of them or dust some stuff off one of them every now and then and be like, hey, I'm going to do this today.
That'll work.
And depending on where I do it, it'll be okay,
And then on the back of Planet Williams, I just want to know, what is the Planet Williams Terradome?
Okay, so that was wild, because this was not my brainchild. It ended up being actually not too bad, but I got to the show and I had no idea what it was. I knew that it was a thing. Somebody said, yeah, you're going to do a Planet Williams Terradome match. I'm like, what is that? I don't know. Okay. So literally I found out what it was maybe about an hour before I had to go and do it. And what they did is they left the ropes on the ring. And what they did is they got sections of cage. So it wasn't like a full cage, but it was sections of cage. And they lined the outside of the ring with it, right? So it's right up against the poles and everything like that. And there was no door. And then they took weapons and they hung them on a string or all the way across the cage link.
Yeah.
And then you had to climb a ladder to get into it. Okay. And then you also had to climb a ladder to get out to win, if I'm not mistaken. But that was the only one there ever was. And it was a thing. I really don't even know how to comment on it. I'm just I don't know what to do with this.
It's got your name on it.
We're gonna do something with it, it was wild.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. It sounds mental. But it's your name stamped on it forever now.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm waiting for somebody to ask me to start doing them, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go and find out exactly what it is again.
And at this point, we normally in the interview, we obviously the pandemic happened, so we discuss a few things outside of wrestling. But we started a kind of, you've probably heard it before, of name association game, where it's
Okay,
either
yeah.
it's just like your first thought of a thing or just a general story. I'm not obviously expecting you to go, "This guy's a dickhead," but just a general story of someone. So
I mean, I
picked
might
out.
go this guy's.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've picked out 6 people which I was just interested in hearing about. So the first one, just really Ron Mathis.
oh, Ron Mathis.
Yeah,
Ron Mathis is trash. He really is. He's 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 a great wrestler, and he's a great dude. But he is the epitome of trash, and I don't even think he'd be mad at me for saying that. He just is. He's a trashy guy. Like that's what he is. He's a good dude though, man. He's very talented. He's another guy that I really wish got more love than he gets, but incredible guy.
yeah. Like I've loved seeing him, and I've just know you've wrestled him like 74 times, so you've been around the block a bit.
Yeah.
The next one up was you mentioned him prior, Shane Strickland.
Strickland is such a really cool guy. Like we had a handful of matches at Rockstar. Like I said, I think we had 3. And one of them was like a submission match, if I'm not mistaken. And ever since then, because he obviously went on and did Lucha Underground, and then he went to the WWE. Now he's in AEW and everything like that. But I'll see him every now and then. Every time I see him, the moment he locks eyes with me, he just comes and gives me a big hug. It says how glad he is to see me. He just doesn't change, and that's not a regular thing. There's very few people in the business that if they get notoriety, if you will, they don't change who they are. And Shane Strickland is one of those dudes that he's just a good dude, just a good dude, incredibly talented, but such a good dude.
Yeah, and I'm happy they've actually started to showcase him a bit more on AEW as well.
Yeah,
because especially his music is it's just so catchy and it ruins my life that it's just in my head for the whole of my time. Him and Prince Dana. Next up,
dude.
the Rascals in general.
Oh man, shoot, I have a ton of love for all 3 of those dudes. Well, I guess 4 if you want to count Myron. Yeah. I have a lot of love for all of those dudes. I kind of feel maybe a little bit like I can claim them like a tiny bit, like I can't, but I'd like to think that I can. Like one of Zachary Wentz's first like real singles matches was against me. One of Trey Miguel's first like real singles matches was against me. Myron and I had like quite a few like really, really good matches at like IWA Mid-South, a couple in Tennessee. And then Dez is, I think I was Dez's last match that he did at Rockstar before he moved to Florida to do Impact. And from what I gather, he requested that because he wanted me to be his last match before he left. So I have so much love for those guys, and they're genuinely like good-hearted guys. And to this day, if I message any of them, if I talk to any of them, they nothing but respect and love, and good dudes, man.
No.
Yeah, love to talk about those guys. They're all so talented.
It's good when you especially can have long-lasting relationships with people as well. It's not just they just suddenly disappear off the planet. Penultimately, Jessica Havoc, who's one of my favourites.
I don't have a lot of stories about Jessica. Like we've been around each other, but we've never really been around each other, I guess.
Yeah.
We wrestled like once, I think. I think we wrestled at Rockstar one time. And I mean, she's very kind. She's a uber talented girl. It's funny now that you mention it to me that now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of interactions. I mean, maybe I'll have to do something about that. But as far as I know, she's all right.
Yeah,
She's an
no,
all right chick.
she's lovely. The way we've met her, my partner's actually got a Jessica Rabbit tattoo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, weirdly
nice.
enough, my partner like to go and segue into. She's into SpongeBob. She's got sandy cheeks from SpongeBob as Jessica Havoc.
That's
And Jessica
awesome.
Havoc got so excited when she saw it. She was like, "I can't believe you
That's
actually did it."
that's awesome. That is a great tattoo.
Yeah. And then someone we mentioned earlier, but like he's been on the show, Gary J.
Oh man, I cannot say enough good things about Gary J. I could probably talk to you the whole time about Gary J. Gary is like, I always view him as like the other side of me. Like if I was a coin, Gary would be the other side of it.
Yeah.
We have the same like mentality about like the professional wrestling business and how it goes and what our responsibility is in it and everything like that. But he is chaos personified. You know, he is a madman
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Like not just in his in-ring style, which anybody who watches him knows he's crazy.
Violence.
I am more of an artist, and I am more particular. And Gary is a car crash. He will just wreck it,
Perfect
wreck
analogy, isn't
everything.
it? Other side of the coin,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like we are. If the Two-Face villain could be a one two people split up, we would be Two-Face. So, gosh, and Gary's just such a good dude. He's not only in an aspect of professional wrestling because he's probably my favorite person to wrestle, and in a lot of ways my favorite person to team with. That's I mean I'm wearing our unsigned and don't
Yeah.
care hoodie right now, and we both have a very strong mentality in that, and it actually was born after a match we had, I think, right out of the pandemic. In Indiana somewhere. We just wrestled, and then after it was over, we were both beat up and hot and sweaty and just dead from lighting each other up with strikes for 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes. He just looked at me and he said, "Man, we're just a couple of dudes who are unsigned and we just don't care because we don't stop. Like our name on a piece of paper is not going to be the end all be all for us. We are bigger than that in our opinion." And we just, from that point on, it was just like, "Yep, you're my dude. We're dudes, dude." And he is not only in wrestling, but just in life in general. He has helped me out more than he'll ever know. He's one of my favorite people. Scary J.
Like Gary J as well, he's really humble as a person. Like we had him on the show. Well, I had him on the show, and he's like, I obviously thanked him because he's come on the show and he's from America. And he's just gone to me. Thank you for knowing me. It's like he didn't expect someone from the UK to know him. I went, you're Gary
Yeah,
J.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is humbling though. Like Gary and I, we both kind of just look like we're just dudes, man. We're just trying to do what we love and everything like that. So to hear that um, anybody would know anything about us is a pretty big thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's humbling for especially somebody across the pond to know anything about us. Sorry,
No,
trying
I
to
don't
do
worry
a.
about it. Both incredible wrestlers. But yeah, it was just incredible. And then obviously, I got to see him actually in person. He had them at one of the most violent. It was at a death match show, and his match wasn't a
Yeah.
death match, but it was probably one of the most violent matches at the same time.
Yep. Yep.
um,
Which one is it? It's the one I gave you. No. It's that one. Oh, it's the bottom right. Sorry. Where do you want me to go? Wherever.
all good. No worries. It's mate.
Sorry, man.
And then what we do at this point, we've gone past that, is we discuss more about not like personal lives, but what you're into. So what kind of music are you into?
I'm actually. It's actually funny because I posted something on Twitter about it, or on X. I guess that's what it is now.
Yeah.
The other day about just know that when I'm preparing for a match, I'm listening to the smooth sounds of the Eagles and thinking about how I'm going to rearrange your face, because that is really me to a T. I am a chill, just let me listen to somebody play a guitar and like soothe me with their voice. And that's what I like. Tom Petty is probably my favorite artist, honestly.
There you go. We do a thing on this channel, and basically it's randomly started up, where we have a guest, and we have a top 3 artists of the guest, and then I have my top 3 artists. Then we put a poll out on Twitter and see who has the best. I always lose if it helps. I am currently
you might win this one, bud.
I'm 5-2 down. Everyone says that, and then it just doesn't happen. Basically, what happened was a guy called Corey McRae, who's a UK wrestler, came on and he challenged me to it. And you know who his top 3 artists were? And I instantly knew I was never going to win. Elvis Presley, Queen, and the Beatles. And I was like, come on.
That's You're gonna have your hands cuffed a little bit right there. Yeah. But okay.
So who would you go top 3?
So my top 3, as I said, Tom Petty is probably one of my favorites. And let's see. I mean, I hate to rip him off, but Queen's probably up there as well.
No, as long as you're not going for the trifecta, that's all that matters.
No. And then we're gonna go with Tupac Shakur.
See, that's a mixture. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm all over the place, bud.
Yeah. Well, you'll hear mine now. Mine is Oasis, Disturbed, and Avril Lavigne. So, yeah.
Okay, that one's a shocker to me. Like,
oh no, Avril Lavigne was my childhood, and it just hasn't stopped. It's become the kind of thing where she releases trash, and I'm still like, yeah, this is good. So it's become that.
Yeah, I get that. I totally understand that.
So I feel
like
you've
me
got
with Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Like I'll still watch it and enjoy it.
Oh yeah, all the time. So yeah, we'll put that poll up, and that'll be a 7-2 loss I'll be at now. And you mentioned the movies. Are you a big movie fan?
Yes, I do. I do really enjoy film. Anytime I get to like sit down and watch stuff, that is. But I do enjoy a good flick. I also enjoy a bad flick. So I try to find like the beauty in everything if I possibly can. You know?
Yeah, I'm doing Shocktober at the moment. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have heard of that.
Yeah,
you
one horror film a day.
Yeah.
And you get to watch some absolute trash because obviously there's not many great horror films. What would be your top 3 films in general? Obviously that's put in the spot.
One that's always going to have like a very special place in my heart, and it is always my go-to when somebody asks me what my favorite movie is because of nostalgia and so on and so forth. It's Bloodsport. Bloodsport is my favorite film of all time.
Yeah,
because there's so much. Like I said, I love martial arts, and there's a lot of like things about just my general childhood that like just take me back to, oh yeah, Bloodsport. Love Bloodsport. Let's see. I think after Bloodsport, I mean, and no like direct thing. I'm a big fan of obviously Clockwork Orange. That's one for me.
Still not seen that.
And, huh?
I've got that on Blu-ray and I've still not watched it. Like it's mental.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, waiting on.
I don't know why. I'm very much like that. I'll buy something and it'll just be there forever, and I'm like, I need to watch that. And then I'll watch some absolute crap on TV.
They're like, nope. And then let's see. I mean, there's so many that I really, really, really enjoy. Part of me wants to go with a straight slasher film, and then the other part of me wants to go with like probably Pulp Fiction.
Oh, no, that's
yeah.
Love Tarantino.
Yeah, love Tarantino.
Like, he's another one that I'm biased towards that he could release. Like, his last film could be a Apollo I'd be like, that was the best film I've seen in a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's his dialect, man. Just the dialect of everything that he does is so, just so deep and telling. Like he tells you all about a character without telling you all about the character. He
exactly.
Starts letting the character talk, and then that's it.
Really good. And before we get back to the wrestling, we've got the question part of it. So these are from fans, and obviously the gentleman I mentioned, I asked you if he was a literal person. So we're going to break up his questions with other questions, but we're going to start off with Dalton McKenzie.
Okay. Yep.
How does it feel being a Cincy boy?
I love being a Cincy boy, actually. Yeah, the Cincy boy thing is, it's a small group of us guys that are from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Myself, Dalton, a young man named Carson Drake, my Cincinnati's most wanted tag partner, Lord Crew, and Jack Vaughn, who is billed from North Carolina, I believe, but he is actually a Cincy boy and doesn't want anybody to know it. But like we discussed earlier, how Ohio kind of has this kind of like a little bit of a feel to it. Like guys kind of a little bit different. And I feel like Cincinnati doesn't get the love that it deserves. So I am a proud wrestler from Cincinnati, just like a John Moxley would be, or a Brian Pillman could be, senior, and that's where it is. Like, so yeah, Cincy boy, bam, just a Cincy boy, eating Skyline chili.
I thought you were going to break into the Shawn Michaels song then. That's what
we do it a lot, actually. It happens all the time.
This isn't really a question, but I thought I might as well mention it. So Sophie, a lady called Sophie, just said, "I love you, Aaron."
Oh, I love you too.
I thought my name's Aaron as well, so I thought it might be me. But
oh well, hey, shoot. Much love to both of us then.
No, luckily, yours, mine's about ARRAN, so she definitely meant you because she's spelling it.
Gotcha.
Next up from Dalton McKenzie. Is it true you took a pitchfork from the devil?
Yes, it is actually. It's a funny story. It involves a corn maze, a plastic set of horns, and a lot of red face paint. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that. Let everybody else just figure it out.
Yeah, just on that. A question that we get asked a lot from our guests. If you had a movie based upon your life, who would play you?
Jason Statham.
That's what I thought instantly.
Yep. And I would love it.
No, I would love it. You know, Jason, anything Jason Statham.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that dude's a bad mamma jamma. Love it.
Next up, from Dalton McKenzie.
Gosh, Dalton, thanks for all the love, bud.
This is probably personal. How do you feel about Dalton McKenzie?
He's a good kid. He works hard. Like, he really does. He's a good kid. He works hard. He's making towns. He's always trying to get better. He blows up my phone daily asking me questions about, how do I get better at this? How do I get better at this? And how do I get better at this? Which is, as a trainer, we never really touched on that much, but I do train people, and he is one of my trainees. As a trainer, that's what you want, man. You want somebody who's going to be like, yeah, tell me everything you know. Let me know. Let me get in there. And that's really what you want. And he is that. He is the epitome of a great student. Good kid.
That's good. And then
He's a man. Good man.
Yeah. And the one we've not been asked before, which should be a normal question. Your last, if you had a final meal, what would it be?
If I had a what?
Yeah, a final meal. I'm guessing it's like a death row meal, isn't it? If you think about it, you know, if you had your final meal on death row, yeah.
I just recently had dinner at a 5-star restaurant for the first time in my life. It was a fancy place. The waiter came and was like, "Sir, what do you want?" And I said, "I don't know how to read anything on this menu." And he was like, "Okay, well, here's what you need to do. You have to order 3 courses right now. You can't think about it. You have to order it right now, and I will bring it out to you as you do it." Okay. Can you tell me what any of this is? And he kind of just gave me like a base of what it was. And I was like, all right,
So I just picked 3 random things, not really knowing. Well, somebody picked it for me, actually. Um, and very nice lady who took me to this restaurant, picked it for me. And, and I have to say, I really wish I could remember the name of it, because it was easily the best meal I've ever had in my life. And if I'm going to die and you're going to give me one more meal, I want whatever that was.
Whatever that was.
Whatever that was. Yeah, as I ate it, I was like, I've been eating food wrong my whole life. Like, I don't know what I've been eating, but it's wrong. It's not right. So.
And then before we get back to the wrestling, we've got one final question from Dalton McKenzie. Dream matches, and why is it Carson Drake?
Dream matches, and why is it Carson Drake? Well, I've already beat Carson Drake like 3 times, so that's not really a dream match for me anymore. Talented kid though. He's like Tully Blanchard if Tully was born like,
modern
19 years ago. Yeah, modern day Tully Blanchard. Yeah. But dream matches for me, right now, I would have to say that's hard. Let's go with Speedball Mike Bailey. That's the one I want right now.
Very good match.
That's the one I want right now. Yeah.
So we'll move back into the good old wrestling now. Well, we technically were there. So unsanctioned pro wrestling.
Yes.
You are the current champion there.
Yeah. Unsanctioned pro is out of Columbus, Ohio, and they travel around to like Columbus and Indiana. I think they've gone into Michigan and stuff like that, and they're trying to create more of a name for themselves and get out there more. And it's a great promotion. It's ran by a gentleman by the name of Derek, and he is a hard-working dude, man. Like Derek and John, actually both of them, hard-working dudes, always trying to do everything they can to give the crowd a good show, and they're great dudes. I am very proud to be a part of that company. I'm very proud to be the champion of that company. And anything I can do to possibly help it get a little better, I definitely want to. I think I first came there with, it was actually going to be me and Alex Colon. We were going to tag up. I think it would have been the last time we would have been the Night Riders. And he just got back from Japan and was ending some deathmatch wounds. So he had to pull out. And they said, do you have anybody else that you could, tag with? And I said, well, you guys use Lord Crew, right? And he's in Cincinnati, just down the road from me. So we could tag together. So him and I tagged against Violence is Forever, I believe.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. All right. We got a little something here. And Crew and I would eventually win the tag straps, and then a tournament happened, and we became Cincinnati's Most Wanted with Lexus Montez, and Crew and I were the tag champs. I believe Lexus was the champion, and eventually something happened. I think a big tournament happened, and I was tag champ, and their hardcore champ, and their heavyweight champion for like a period of, I don't know, an hour, I think. Yeah. And then I relinquished the hardcore title, and then Crew won that. So we've kind of owned
you've run that
unsanctioned pro a little bit. I think I'm the only guy to be. I guess I'm the only Triple Crown guy there, I think. Yeah,
impressive. So. You've had a big run there as well, and you've had the main title for over a year now, which is impressive in itself. The hardcore title, I just clicked on it. I didn't realise it's Clint Margera's got it from the UK now, which I didn't realise, which is incredible because Clint's fantastic. Really good guy. But yeah, you've had it for over a year. You've only defended it twice, though. What's this about?
Yeah, I really don't know. I think part of it is because for a long time we were the tag champs, Crew
Yeah.
and I was the heavyweight champ. So they would have to like make a choice. Like, are you guys going to defend the tag titles, or are you going to defend the heavyweight title? And it would just kind of go back and forth. There, I can say though that I do have a title defense in December, and I think that they may have ran like every other month for a little bit too, so that might have something to do with it. Um, so if what they're telling me is accurate, my title for defense in December is going to be a hefty one. It's going to be a pretty good one. So
Yeah.
keep your eyes open for that.
Well, if you look at it, the most important title runs, just look at Roman Reigns. Don't need to defend it every show. And that's what makes it
That's
important.
true.
Yeah.
It's true, right? Acknowledge me and such.
You could use that. Acknowledge me and such.
and just add the and such or in stuff or shoot, man, acknowledge me.
Yeah. And then you've had a chance to recently wrestle a lot of companies that the like the UK would have known, like heard about more, people like GCW, where you got to face the second gear crew. How was that?
Yeah. Oh, that was cool, man. Like I've never got to wrestle FE before, so that was definitely a first. I've wrestled Manser quite like a handful of times.
Yeah.
And he's always fun to tangle with. And I think I've wrestled Justice like once before, but them three together in one movement is hard to handle, man. It's a lot. And I think for that particular match, it was myself, Lord Crew, and a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Johns, who isn't really our dude. He's not really our buddy. So it was kind of really, he was just there. It was me and Crew versus them, and then Jeffrey Johns he was there. He wasn't really on our team, and he wasn't really trying to help us. He was trying to help himself and everything. So it didn't really go our way per se, but the match itself was definitely something to remember. And I'd love to have a singles with any of those dudes on possibly a bigger opportunity, bigger stage or whatever. So yeah, but that was a good one.
Yeah. And then before we get on to, obviously, you're coming to the UK, there's one company, which is probably my favourite company in the US at this moment in time, ICW No Holds Barred.
Yeah, man. I really like ICW No Holds Barred. I haven't been there in it's probably close to a year now, but no, it's not that long. It's probably like 6 months or something.
Last match I can see was you wrestled Gary J in a death match in November last year, so it is nearly a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're coming up on November, aren't we? Yeah. So yeah, it's been a minute. But that's probably more my fault than it is anybody else's. So, but yeah, man, the first time that I wrestled there, I was scheduled to wrestle somebody, and then they kind of had to pull out at the last minute, and then they filled it with Gary. So he was my first match there, and it was in Indianapolis, and the major take home to it was about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes into the match or so, I concussed myself. I was gone completely. But like this, where's that? Which side is it? There's a big massive scar on one of my eyebrows. There it is.
There,
see that guy right there? Yeah, that's from that match. Basically what happened was I went to dive on him like a suicide dive, and he was like in front of a door, and he moved, and I just went head first through this door and busted my face on the concrete, and I was gone, just completely out, bleeding everywhere. Don't remember a thing from the whole match. But apparently it was good. So they were like, okay, well, let's bring you back, you know? And then I think I went back and wrestled Aaron O'Ryan in the pit. And that was really cool too, man. Like I don't think I've had a experience there that I haven't enjoyed. Whether win or lose, the experience and the atmosphere of like the crowd and just being a part of it is so cool. And yeah, nothing but love for those guys. Glad they're still killing it. Just glad they're still doing good.
Yeah, it's an incredible company. And then what we'll end on. So you're coming to the UK.
Yeah, man.
When's that all kicking off?
So I leave the 17th, which is in a few days, actually. And I can't remember all the dates. I know we're going to be in Romania for a show on the 21st. We're going to be, I might be able to look it up here for a second if it doesn't like do something stupid to me. Yeah. And then I think we're going to be wrestling for a place called Mega Slam for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
We're going to be in London for a place called UKPW on the 28th. And the 29th, we haven't decided exactly what we're going to do yet, but we do have plans to do something. And there's a possibility of maybe Progress on the 22nd. So we're kind of waiting on that one to see if that one's going to go through. But that seems to be our trip. We'll be there from the 17th to the 31st, flying back on Halloween.
Yeah.
So
and
really.
Sorry, I was going to carry on. You carry.
Just really, really excited about it. Like it's almost happened in my career. Like, gosh, I want to say like 4 or 5 times, but then something always just happens, and it just doesn't happen. And we're down to the wire now, and we haven't had any massive problems yet. So looks like it's gonna happen. I'm stoked, man. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get out there and show the UK fans what I'm all about. So real happy.
Incredible. And do you know where you're going to be based in the UK?
I do. Hold on. I'm terrible, but I do know these things. I just gotta remember. Where's it at? Where's the button? I need the button.
We're a small place.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, and I just don't know names. That's
fair enough. I was speaking to the Merc about it while you were looking for this. The Merc was on about, I'll have to drive like 9 hours, and I'm like, if you did that in the UK, you'd get to the other end of the UK.
Heathrow. We're gonna be we're stationed out of Heathrow.
Okay, just in London, yeah. So Heathrow Airport.
Okay, so yeah, we in London then.
Yeah.
Right on.
So yeah, get tickets to them shows. Mega Slam's a fun one. Progress will be a big one if you can get there as well. That's probably the biggest one obviously. In the UK. And then UKPW as well. So normally what we end on, but Dylan McKenzie ruined it for everyone. We normally end on what would be your dream match, which Mike Bailey. But we also ask. We ask people that are alive, but we also ask for people that are either retired or have passed away. What would be your dream match that way?
Okay. Shoot. That one's a lot bigger of a list. Shoot. It's like I have like everybody's got like a Mount Rushmore or top 5 or whatever. Mine changes frequently. Like I have like my hardcores that are always there.
If it helps,
have like floaters,
Gary J said Maso Tanaka. No, he's fighting him. So this might help. Just remember.
Yeah, right. Which I'll be on that show. Super stoked. I get to watch that live. I'm really excited. Wrestling Laney Luck, actually, I know that's gonna be fun too. So with that in mind, let's reach for the stars here, okay? We're gonna go right down that alley. We're gonna say Yoshihiro Tajiri. That's what we're gonna say.
Oh, let me reach out. If it happens, I'm like, no, that
I'll take RVD too, but if we're reaching for the stars, oh gosh, what are you trying to do to me, man? I will quit wrestling right after that. Like, all right, I'm done. I am going no further than this moment.
If we throw a dog collar in the middle as well.
And I'll be like, yeah, guys, don't worry about it. I know how to do this.
It works.
Okay? You guys listen to me, and I'll take care of it.
It's gonna be fine.
I'm
But
sure,
yeah,
sure that'll
so
go over great.
that's the end of this. So for everyone, obviously as usual, like and subscribe. We've had your, I believe, I always forget, we've had your Instagram below your name, but you are on
Awesome.
Twitter, which we'll have in the description. Is there any other things you'd like to plug for that?
No, I mean, not really. I just, I got a Pro Wrestling Tees account. If you want to hop over there and like buy a T-shirt or something, that's cool. Other than that, just, if you want to interact with me, I'd love that. I love that. That's great. On Twitter or Instagram or whatever. That's just pretty much it, man. Just excited to get out there. Excited to do what I do. Love doing what I do, or I wouldn't do it. That's
Okay. And like, when is your first show? Did you say the 18th? Did you say?
The 21st, I think, is the first one, and it's in Transylvania, Romania, something like that. I just posted something on my Instagram about it. I think I just shared something about it on my story. So yeah, and I do get to go and see Dracula's castle.
That's
apparently.
right.
That's the thing that we're gonna do, which I am uber stoked about. That's gonna be awesome. So yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great time.
21st of October, if I think it's Sambata. Is that the?
That sounds right.
Look, I'm not going to say I know Romanian there. So this will be out on the 18th, this video, so it'll be out just before, so that's good.
Sweet.
But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man, for having me. I really appreciate it. Good times.
And that's goodbye from me, everyone.
See ya.
Oh, yeah!